Welcome to Free You, a space for stillness, clarity, and the silent wisdom that lives within us all. Today, we open a question that many are quietly carrying. When the economy collapses, when bills pile up, when pressure tightens around the chest, and uncertainty becomes our daily breath, how can we stay clear, still, and wise? It's not just a financial question, it's a human one. In a world that keeps asking us to do more, fix more, chase more, what if the real answer is not to control more, but to see more clearly? Not with fear, not with force, but with the wisdom of Prajñā, the kind of seeing that frees you from within, even when the world outside doesn't change. So let's begin. Not to solve everything, but to rest back into what's already whole, into the clarity that cannot be lost. The world feels heavy for many right now. Inflation rises, the cost of food, rent, and healthcare climbs, but incomes remain the same or disappear altogether. Many wake up each morning not wondering what to create, but what to cut, what to cancel, what to survive. Single parents juggle 2 or 3 jobs. Elderly people choose between medicine and meals. Young adults lose sleep over debts they didn't choose. And silently, across quiet homes and busy cities, a deep weariness spreads. Hope begins to dim. And in that dimness, decisions are no longer made from clarity, but from fear. We borrow out of panic. We quit out of exhaustion. We numb out because it's all just too much. And yet, beneath the noise, something within us is still quietly watching. The greatest loss we face is not just economic, it is energetic. When fear becomes the air we breathe, our collective vibration begins to drop. We slip into survival mode, where the body stays tense, the mind loops worst-case scenarios, and the heart begins to close. Disconnected from our inner stillness, we stop responding to life and start reacting to it. What's the difference? To react means to act from fear, instantly, automatically, without clarity, like a flame flaring up at the slightest wind. It's driven by our nervous system, not our wisdom. For example, someone criticizes us, and we instantly shout back or shut down. To respond, on the other hand, is to pause. It is the sacred moment between stimulus and action. From that still space, we choose. For example, someone criticizes us, and we breathe. We observe our feelings, then calmly speak, or simply step away. The more we react, the more we drift from the one place that was never touched by the storm, the quiet, aware presence within. In this chaos, it's not more panic we need, not more noise, not more action, but a return to clear seeing, to a way of perceiving that is not clouded by fear. That kind of seeing does not come from thinking harder or controlling more. It comes when we stop fighting what is and gently settle back into the truth that was always here. This is where Prajñā begins. In the midst of struggle, when the mind is full, we often search for answers. We read, we ask, we calculate, we compare. But Prajñā, true wisdom, is not found in information. It is not a technique. It is not something you acquire through effort. Prajñā is not learned. It is revealed when effort stops. It is the clear seeing that appears when the mind becomes quiet, not empty like a void, but silent like a sky after a storm. This is the kind of seeing that the Heart Sutra points to. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. There is no suffering, no path, no attainment. At first, these words may seem abstract, but when you are truly still, you begin to understand them without needing to explain. Because real wisdom doesn't speak in thoughts. It speaks in silence. You begin to see that the pain you fear is just a moment, not a destiny. That the self you're trying to protect is made of thoughts. That even the heaviest identity is only passing form. And behind it all, there is only space. Prajñā does not resist what is. It doesn't try to hold or push away. It simply sees that everything is impermanent, interdependent, and empty of fixed meaning. And in that seeing, there is deep peace. Not because things become easier, but because we're no longer trying to make them be something they're not. We often ask, when does prajñā appear? How can I find it in the middle of stress, fear, or survival? And the answer is quiet. Prajñā arises when seeking ends. When we stop trying to control life and simply allow this moment to be as it is. Prajñā can arise in a pause between thoughts, in a deep exhale after holding it all too long, in a moment of surrender when you whisper, I don't know anymore, not with despair, but with softness, in the beauty of a tree, a cloud, a still room, when no thought interferes. In that instant, even for one breath, there is no judgment, no plan, no fear, just clear seeing, just this. And in that space, what was once overwhelming becomes light. What once defined you becomes transparent. What once seemed like a crisis becomes part of a greater unfolding. This is not something you achieve. This is something you return to again and again until you realize you were never separate from it. Prajñā doesn't change your life. It changes your relationship to life. And in that shift, you become free. Or in the other words, Prajñā doesn't promise to change your outer world. It doesn't guarantee more money, better health, or perfect outcomes. Because life, by its very nature, is uncertain. It rises and falls. It gives and takes. It moves like waves and cannot be controlled. But what Prajñā does shift is far more powerful. It changes how you relate to all of it. How you see, how you respond, how much you suffer or don't. When you live in wisdom, you stop reacting from fear or clinging. You stop demanding that life go your way. You begin to move with life, not against it. You act, but without panic. You feel, but without drowning. You care, but without attachment. And in that shift, something deep opens inside. Not a new life, but a new freedom within this life. A freedom that does not depend on what happens, but on how present, awake, and open you are in the midst of it. She smiles, not because her life is easy, but because she is no longer fighting it. So the question becomes, how can we stay rooted in stillness, even when everything feels chaotic? How do we let wisdom guide us, not reactivity, when things fall apart? How can we carry prajñā into a world of bills, debts, exhaustion, and uncertainty? Not as an idea, but as a way of being. This brings us to the heart of today's reflection. How do we live prajñā when life feels tight, when bills, fatigue, and worry press in. We begin not by fixing, but by seeing, gently, honestly, in the middle of it all. Name the pressure without merging with it. Say quietly, yes, there is fear here. Yes, there is tightness. And then ask, what else is here, deeper than this? Often, beneath the noise, is a quiet awareness, not touched by the chaos. Make space before you act. Even a single breath can create a gap. From that space, don't ask, how do I win, fix, or escape? Ask, what would clarity do right now? Let small steps rise, not from force, but from inner permission. Stay close to the simple. When life becomes too much, Prajñā doesn't offer more to do. It offers less to carry. It returns you to simplicity, not as denial, but as devotion to what truly matters. A quiet cup of tea, not to escape, but to be fully present with warmth in your hands. Turning off one screen, not to avoid the world, but to return to the one within. Saying no with kindness, not to reject others, but to protect the space where your clarity can breathe. These are not small things. They are sacred acts of remembering that peace begins in how gently we meet the moment. This is how wisdom lives, not in grand solutions, but in how you carry this one moment with presence. Prajñā doesn't change your life. It changes your relationship to life. And in that shift, everything begins to move. This is not just poetic. It's energetic. There is a secret woven into the fabric of life. When your state of being changes, the field around you shifts. You may not control what happens tomorrow, but you do influence how life moves through you, and what you magnetize through the frequency you carry. Fear contracts your field. It tightens your breath, narrows your vision, and attracts what matches that fear. But when you rest in Prajñā, even if nothing has changed outside, something within loosens. The field softens, the breath opens, and life reflects that openness back to you. You meet life as it is, without pushing, without panic. And in return, life begins to meet you differently, not with resistance, but with resonance. This is the subtle power of inner clarity. When your mind, body, and energy align, you enter a state called coherence, not forced positivity, but deep, integrated presence. In coherence, the body heals better, the heart becomes intuitive, the mind sees clearly, and ideas, synchronicities, and support begin to appear. Not because you chase them, but because you're aligned with them. This isn't magic, it's resonance. Everything in existence vibrates: light, sound, emotion, thought. And when your inner state is peaceful, you begin to tune into a different level of reality. For example, when you are anxious, your energy is tight. Even if a good opportunity appears, you might miss it or push it away. But when you're grounded and open, your presence becomes magnetic. You draw in what matches your peace. Guidance comes, books appear, the right people arrive, not because you controlled it, but because you were open to receive. Living from Prajñā doesn't mean every outer challenge disappears. The bills may still be there. The job may still be difficult. But something inside has shifted. You are no longer in survival mode. You feel grounded, like a tree rooted deeply, even as the winds of life blow strong. There is room to breathe. You see your situation more clearly. You respond instead of react. You feel creative again. New ideas arise, not from effort, but from spaciousness. You become open to subtle paths, a quiet nudge, a gentle impulse, a surprising conversation. You might still wake up early to face a long day, but now you do it with a quieter mind. You listen more. You speak less, but more honestly. And sometimes, without trying, someone crosses your path and opens a new doorway. You didn't force a breakthrough, but by anchoring in clarity, you allowed life to move through you. You shifted within, and life responded. So when we say Prajñā shifts your life, we don't mean it changes your circumstances instantly. We mean it changes how deeply you suffer from them. Most people look outward to escape pain. If I had more money, I'd feel safe. If my health improved, I'd be happy. If my partner understood me, I'd feel loved. These may seem true, but if the mind is still clinging, still driven by fear and desire, suffering will return in another form. The root of suffering is not the event, but the identification with it. The story of me, mine, and must. Prajñā reveals this clearly. You are not your job, not your success, not your fears. You are the open space in which all of it arises and fades. Money, status, even the body, are temporary appearances, like waves on an ocean. Prajñā doesn't ask you to leave the world. It invites you to see through it. And in that clear seeing, you are free, not in fantasy, but in the still truth of this moment. Let go of the belief, I must control everything. If I don't know what's next, I'm not safe. The truth is, you don't need to fix the entire future. You only need to return to this breath, this presence, this now. And from here, ask, what is the wise step, right here? Not the most perfect, not the most impressive, just the step that feels true, in this moment, in this body, in this knowing. This is how Prajñā lives, not in big words, but in small, steady choices. Not someday, but now. One breath at a time. One clear step at a time. One silent, strong seeing in the middle of it all. And slowly, without forcing, you become the calm inside the storm. Not because the storm stops, but because you've stopped running. You become the still presence that no pressure, no change, no chaos can shake. Free you. May you walk through this uncertain world not with fear, but with the quiet light of clear seeing. If this message touched something in you, you're warmly invited to subscribe and share your reflections in the comments below. This space is here for you, to pause, to breathe, and to return to what truly matters. Not later, but now. So now, we won't add more words. We won't try to explain further. Because wisdom, true wisdom, is not something you figure out. It's something you rest into. You've heard the words. You've touched the insight. Now, let's return to the space beneath thought. Let's return to stillness, not to solve, not to escape, but to be, just for a few quiet minutes. Let life be exactly as it is, and let your breath lead you back to what cannot be lost.
Let us return. Close your eyes if that feels right, or simply soften your gaze. Let the body rest. Let the breath be natural. Let the thoughts come and go without following. You don't have to fix anything right now. You don't need to figure anything out. Just be here. Feel the breath rising and falling like waves upon the shore. Let the tension melt from your face, your shoulders, your heart. Right now, there is nothing to solve, only this breath, this moment, this stillness. Now, gently ask yourself, softly, not to find a perfect answer, but to return to clarity. What is the wise step right now? Not the most perfect one, not the one that pleases everyone, just the step that feels true in your body, in your breath, in this moment. Maybe it's resting. Maybe it's listening instead of reacting. Maybe it's doing less, not more. Wisdom is often quiet. It moves with simplicity, not pressure. Now gently ask, what is true if I don't react? When I don't chase the thought, don't fight the feeling, and simply let everything be. What remains? The fear softens, the mind clears, the moment becomes spacious. Without reaction, truth quietly reveals itself. It was always here, beneath the noise. Just stay here, not solving, not fixing, just resting in clear seeing. No striving, no chasing, just being. You are already home. When you're ready, gently open your eyes and walk forward, not with fear, but with presence.